So today we have our second interview here in the podcast. So hello and welcome to Mind on the Rocks, your podcast about mental health. And today I'm your host Rodrigo. I have with me my co-host Manu, and we have our special guest Jean Paul. Welcome, Jean, and tell me. My first question is, who are you and what's your mission?
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy, Manu and Rodrigo, to meet you today. I think it's kind of my first podcast in English where I'm not the host. So, so
That's
for my English guys, I'm a French speaker. So who I am, I just come from really, I think it's not a typical background, but I come from Africa. I was born in Africa, from Congo. I have lived in Angola. So in a moment in my life, I kind of spoke Portuguese. In Congo, we kind of spoke a lot of language. Some people speak Chinese, some people speak French, some people speak any kind of language, and we have a lot of religions also there. So I was kind of got used to this multiculturalism. And later in my youth, I just moved in France to continue my studies, and that's where I was able to, to grow as a man and just to continue living there. So for the past years, I'm exploring the world and grow up in my job and grow up in what I'm doing the most. And my mission is to employees like me find purpose while they're on the career. To don't treat a career like a hard work, but treat it like something that will help you, realize your dreams outside of your job. So we talk about personal finance, or we talk about side hustle also, which is a big subject in our times because of job changing, the market is changing. So this is kind of my mission that I'm working on with the help also of Manu.
really cool. What did you study in France?
Sorry?
What did you study in France?
Oh, in France, I study. First, I just arrived. I was, I think, in no, in middle school, and I studied from the beginning of finance, money, because I liked to understand how companies operate. Because in Congo we didn't have, this kind of huge companies. And my dream, when I was watching some movies in the past in the 90s, I was dreaming to work with my suit in this kind of block skyscrapers. So I just studied money to be able to be engaged in those kind of companies. Yeah.
So interesting.
So I've talked with you a lot, John, and I nowadays you've been working with a lot of young entrepreneurs and new companies. Do you think in the future a lot more people are going to start working on their own companies and building their own stuff rather than the big companies just existing?
Yeah, I think there is a huge thing that is happening in the market, and I think you guys are witnessing this. In the past, before even I started to work, the mantra was to go to the company and find a job, and that job you will do it until you just die. So at the time, it was one of those we were not really capable of understanding it. Yeah, I was really, trying to find a job that doesn't make me boring quick, because I'm kind of person I just learn fast. And when I learn fast, I start to be boring fast. So I need to be challenged every time. I'm not just let myself go with the flow. No, I need to innovate. I need to discuss. I need to understand, and I need to challenge myself. And so in my generation, a lot of my friends, my old school friends, are still in this mind. And I saw a lot of them keep having just one job and just staying there for decades and decades. But the world is changing quickly. And what I understood really fast is like, if I want to progress quick, if I want to learn fast, I need to be on the place where I don't feel safe. When I talk about I don't feel safe, I talk about when I don't feel safe intellectually. So I always need to surround myself with people who knows better than me, who have a life, and culture which are much more better than mine, because I want to learn and I want to feel like a challenged to keep myself around these kind of people. So that's what I just applied into my job strategy. So I just found out that there was a job that was called consulting, and you just go to a company to find and just to resolve the issues. It's kind of intellectual issues, all of that. And in the year, you can just fix like 5, 6 companies, and you just also get paid so well, but also work a lot and learn a lot, and you kind of have some rank like in the army. So that was all of what I was dreaming of. So I just made 1 year at Sanofi, and then I get bored, and then I just jump into consulting because someone invited me there, and I just signed my first contract in there. So I think a lot of people of our generation, of your generation also, the Gen Z and all that, are going to make companies by themselves instead of going in the old route.
So true. I relate to a lot of things you said. I also learn fast, get bored fast, and I also like I'm surrounded by people and family and friends who have this mindset of I'm gonna grow up, I'm gonna go to university, I'm gonna get my diploma, and then I'm gonna get a job at a company, and that's it for the rest of my life. That's my future. Then you just have your family, buy your car, buy your house, or whatever. And on the past month, on May to be more specific, I just quit my job working for Uber as a software engineer. And
Wow.
in the heads of my family and to my friends and my colleagues, they're all like, man, this guy must have gotten crazy, Okay, he left the dream job, working from home, making his own time, not a lot of pressure, um, working with amazing peers from all over the world. And I'm in Brazil and I was working for Uber in San Francisco, so international
Wow.
job, very prestigious. And then I just felt like there are a lot of reasons that I quit, but I think it goes back to what you said of like career. It goes that it career and purpose can be connected. You can have career and purpose, and you can use your career to kind of like give some meaning to your life. And for some reason, I was not getting that with my job. So I just decided, you know what? I think the world is changing fast, as you mentioned. I think there are a lot of opportunities. Um, some of those we may not see, but it doesn't mean they don't exist, right? So sometimes there are opportunities that we don't see, but we just have to kind of like find out where they are. So I just took the leap. And that's how I got here in the podcast. That's how I met Manu. That's how we started Mind on the Rocks. So that's really cool. And I just wanted
But
to
do you also think that it's also because of a generational thing? Because the generations before ours didn't have access to the internet, didn't have access to this much information,
yeah.
social media, news. So with all of this information and stuff, we get tired of doing the same thing again and again because we see the opportunities that actually exist. So
Yeah.
we always want to change something of so people get tired doing like that's why that the old generational vibe of working with the same job, doing the same routine daily doesn't work for us, maybe as a generation anymore.
I think it has something to do with that too, but for example, I think there are so many reasons like that are hitting hard on why, for example, the new generation and the Gen Z and my generation and Rodrigo generations also are just quitting jobs and trying to make the best. A few days ago, I was watching a TikTok of a man. He lived in the UK. He's an Asian root guy, and he was like a 34, and he was doing some kind of vlogging episodes on how he just quit his job. He had like a 37 pounds, 1,000 pounds money, and he just going full. Like he don't have a job, but he want to figure out what he can do to create another income source. And because for him it was the last try, so he gives himself 1 year, because he want to find purpose. He was a software engineer for a GAFAM also. And I've seen literally a lot of people that are searching their ways like that. And for me, coming back from Congo, of course, in the past we had internet also, but we had a little internet. The connection was what it was, and but I think something changed around 2009, and in France, for example, we started to be influenced a lot by American music, and something changed in the way people were dressing. Something changed in the way people were interacting between each other. Me, in my generation, when I came in France, it was something a little bit awkward to see. How can I phrase it? Because I don't want it's become controversial. But it was difficult to see different race people together. It was something really you just spot not many times. But there was a change in the people's mind, and there was also this opening in the business. And there was a rush also because of Facebook, because of all of that. So everyone saw how mastered can just change lives. And we started to talk about big monies. What is happening now with AI? Before AI, I never listened a company like OpenAI have a budget of 500 billion deal with Amazon. It was crazy, you know.
Yeah.
I think people don't understand those kind of numbers are huge. I never listened that there will be a deal for that amount of money. This is crazy. So I think this is the same change that happened back in 2009, in 2004, that just pushed a new generation of billionaires, a new generation of people that made the change, that made us use the tools that we use now, you know, that just reframed, you know, the way to live. And I think there's another thing is that I can see a lot on Reddit, on the internet. And when I talk with some stakeholders, with some friends and family, we talk about it less and less, but it's kind of important to me. Is like bullying in the professional work space. When you see the reason why people change jobs is most of the time is because they are bullied. They just need to stay in the same office, work with people that have a problematic behavior with them. And myself, I was a manager, so I saw how many times the management didn't take any role in anything, you know, to fix those kind of problems because they just wanted to focus themselves 100% on money. But what they didn't understand is like you can't make a company earn enough money if the background team is suffering, you know, for communicating between themselves, you know. So this is some problem that are really neglected by companies, and it's causing a lot of trauma. So I have seen a lot of people that being shocked because of professional world, and this is why also people just want to brace, go out and try to find a way to not just depend on some employer, because the grass is always greener. We all say like this, but when you change company, you never know who in which team you will go, what are the mechanism of those people. And that's a big fear. And it become also a huge fear when you start a family, when you have a family, when you have kids. I've seen people trapped in the job. They just want to leave, but they have a family, you know, and it's making them, causing them some traumas, some psychological, some health traumas and all of that. So that's why also I'm doing what I'm doing, you know, because we need to collectively find a way to escape this problem, you know. So yeah, that's what I can say for the moment.
Yeah, I am very grateful. Well, not yeah, maybe yeah. That's not the correct word. But I used to have a family. You know, I used to date, and we lived together for a couple years. We had two cats, and split up on 2024. And I've been by my own since then. And I felt kind of lucky. You know, maybe not grateful, but lucky being by my own and not having anyone relying on me, depending on me. I feel like that that made me much more likely to leave my job and to actually like take risk, you know? And I do agree with you that if I was still living with my ex and with my cats and or household, I wouldn't leave my job ever because, and then you kind of ask yourself, like, how can I make sure that they're going to be okay? I think there's a point there. If you're young, you know, if you're especially like in your 20s or something, or you're studying or your first job, your second job, I think if you're still not married, you don't have kids or whatever, I think this is the time for you to take risk and do some crazy things with your life. For many years, I had kind of like this fear, especially like with my career, I don't want to be left behind. I want to grow. I want to get my next promotion. I want to go get, I don't know, change companies for success and whatever, get more money, get a pay raise. But really, like when you take a look at the big picture, and I'm talking like decades, like I'm 31 right now. But if you take like your life from the 20 until you are like 40 years old, you have like 20 years. That's a lot of time. And if from the first like 20 to 25, when you're very like 5 years of your youth, you just dedicated to take risks, get to know yourself better, not necessarily go for the most financially success work, but maybe try to see things that fire you up, that inspire you. It's like you said, you want to be challenged, you want to be learning a lot, you want to be like not getting bored doing the same old thing. So I do think that young people, they were probably gonna have like much happier lives if they just threw everything up and they went to take risks and just try something new. It is scary. I'm scared right now, to be honest. Like I don't have any money's coming in. I'm just, I have my savings and eventually it's gonna drain up and I'm gonna be broke unless I come up with something to make money. But I do think that, hey, I might not have this opportunity ever again, especially if I get married to someone. It's very hard to go to your spouse or your husband and be like, oh, yeah, I was thinking about like quitting my job and there's no plan. I don't have any other ideas. I don't have any other job. They're probably going to be like, what the fuck? Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
But I do wanted to hear from you. Like, imagine someone has this stability, they have this family, they have maybe kids that depend on them. How would you help them find their purpose in their career? If it's changing jobs or whatever, but how can you help them do that?
So I like your question because I've seen a lot of people's, because me, I quit my job last year in December. And it was, of a learning for me because I wanted for a long time to just let myself roll in, just leave some things I never did, explore, talk to people, go to do some stuff and figuring out, what is really big. I've seen a lot of guys that I was working with. This guy, he was like a 17 years old of experience, in his career. And then he just left his old company to go in consulting. Okay. But what I've seen, he was a guy that spent the first 17 years of his career in the same company. He had a family, was married, and all of that. But he was kind of boring in, because you could see in the company you have a lot of politics when the company is not well managed. And for every decision, you need to fight. I can remember countless of time I heard him in the next office screaming during meetings just to make his voice heard. Because in the company, what I've seen is most of people have lost focus. Most of people have lost, the way they really wanted to put their life in. So the only thing for them is left is be proud of, okay, it's because of me we did this. This is a decision I took, and that's why we did like this. People are just fighting for this
You
in
just want to look
companies.
good.
Yeah, they just want to look good, and they just want to own something about, in the company. Like for example, it's thanks to me that we win contract with this company. It's thanks to me that we hire him. It's thanks to me that we just change the color or the logo. We put blue, but in the past it was dark. I've literally really seen it, and it made me depressed. It made me depressed. So how could I save someone who is in his maybe 40s, 50s, and who is working, have a family, and want to feel proposed in this job? I think that from what I understood, the most important is not to always find a purpose on what you are doing. Like, for example, if you are grateful enough, to have a career and earn some money and doing something boring or shitty or something, at least it helps feed your family. But what we forgot when we are in where we are full timers, we forgot about the outside life. You know, in France, we are lucky because we have a lot of vacations. We have like a more than 30 days vacation in the year. But it's kind of 1 month something vacation, in 365 days. Kind of good because in some countries, I know in China, for example, because I had some family members in China too, they have like a 10 days vacation in the whole year. That's really crazy. So how do you find purpose? You need to find purpose outside of your work. To me, this is the only thing because you are our full-timers jobs. I just drain sucking people. I just soul sucking jobs. I just find myself many times when I came back home, I can't do anything. I just take a shower, eat, and put something on the TV. I can't even read a book. I can't even read a book because I'm drained. But you are using your energy for someone else. Of course, he's paying you. He's paying you. Okay. But you are not using that energy to build something that you'll be proud of. So this colleague who was 50 plus years old, his daughter was searching an internship. The thing that shocked me, to find his daughter internship, he was unable to find someone, call someone to find his daughter internship. He said instead, put a message on LinkedIn and I will put a like. This may help you. That's crazy. After 17 years of experience in companies, you met people, you talk, you grew up, you can't even find something for your daughter. You can't even also find a purpose for yourself. So, to me, what I will advise is like you need to find your purpose outside of your work. You need to grow also outside of your work. Don't use all your energy, don't use all your life just to focus on the project of someone else. Because I've seen a lot that I have a friend, he was a director inside a big company, and one day, top boss decided to delete his team. He was used to find another job inside the company for in 6 months, unless he would be fired. That's how the full-timer job can just shake your life. So it's really, to me, the most important thing is always build something outside, build some another streams, find purpose outside of your full-time job, unless you will be at the mercy of anyone.
And the easiest way to do that is to build your own company because then you have your control over your job and your purpose because your company turns into your purpose. And I think that's where a lot of people nowadays are turning into, working as entrepreneurs and such.
Yeah. I was about to say, because you did that, right, Manu? So you had like a 9 to 5, and then you shortly
Yeah,
after
pretty.
you quit and open your company.
Yeah.
I think more and
And
more
I think a
people
lot of
are gonna be doing that because it's just like as you said, like as the generations are going forward, I feel like in my parents, the older generation, all of my family really like the most important thing for them is knowing that they're gonna get a paycheck, so they feel safe. They can go to the market, buy stuff, do grocery shopping, come back home, and be alive. They're worrying about like kind of like basic needs. Can I buy food? Can I put food on the table? Do I have my house, my car? Okay, everything's fine for them. My generation, I think there being this shift, and I think it's related to what you said that happened like on the 2000s with the internet. And nowadays, you're exposed to a lot more information. You can see a lot of different people having different lives from the ones that you know. And maybe if I didn't know anyone else doing any other different things, I would think that, okay, this is the only way to go. I have to get a diploma, get my job, just be okay, go to my soul draining work, come back home, watch Netflix, whatever. But nowadays, like we have access to different lifestyles. We can open Instagram or YouTube or whatever, and people are telling us you don't have to live like this. You can have a different life. You can be a consultant or a business owner or whatever. You can be a content creator. And I think that there's a shift in the motivation from the older generation, like, hey, I just want to be fine, I just want to have food in my table. And me, I'm like, okay, I have food on my table. I have stuff. I have my like video games. I buy my video games. So, I'm buying my video games, new shiny video game come out. Okay, I buy it. But so I'm looking like for the next step. And the next step is like, okay, how can I bring like more meaning to my life? I don't want to be coming home at the end of the day and just feel drained. I don't want to feel like tired. I don't want to feel that. I want to actually come to, if it's Monday, I wake up early, and I have energy. I feel good. I feel inspired. I feel motivated. And I want to be working on something that brings me value and also like makes me excited, instead of draining my energy. Like I want to be working on something that gives me energy, that makes me feel energized. And I think this podcast coming back, this is an example, when I have to talk to someone, interview someone, hey, this makes me excited. This gives me energy. If I'm sleepy or worried or whatever, I have a podcast. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm going to get to meet new people, talk to new people, get to hear from someone from the other side of the world and their stories. So, but the point I'm trying to make is I think there's this shift on a generational level going on that we'll probably like get more and more far away from just I'm gonna sell my time for this company, and instead people are trying to look for ways that they can build their own thing. Either be like, hey, I want to be a writer and self-publish, or I want to be like, I'm gonna develop my own app and I'm gonna open my own company, or maybe I'm just open like at this local coffee shop or whatever. But doing something for yourself and not just for some big company.
So I
Uh,
think
uh,
one of these books I read said that when you're looking for a job, it has to encompass these four things. One, it needs to be something you're good at. Second, it needs to be something you like doing. Third, it needs to be something you can make money out of.
mm,
Fourthly, it needs to be something that's good to the community at large. And I think it's when all of these four things come together into the job that you're doing that people actually feel fulfilled out of it. And in more cases than not, at least one or more than one of these situations are not conditions are not met.
I think also, like, because I had, a kind of similar conversation in the past with people, and the one in the audience was someone that was saying, "Okay, I can relate to what you're saying, but what about for the people who just don't want to be an entrepreneur? What about for the people who just are just made to do 9 5? Because have some people that are really comfortable in that, are really comfortable in office politics, and are made like they can do nothing outside of a 9 5 cage. They can do nothing outside that, so they're just made for that. They are not an entrepreneur. They are just people who can work well in the company paradigm, you know. So what I think is no matter what, which kind of people you are, because I kind of see like this world and is kind of led by tech people and looks like everyone wants to become a tech guy and all of this. They just invited, vibe coding, so everyone start to build a coder, all of this. But to be a coder, it's much more hard than this. It's
Yeah.
you need to study that and you need to have some experience. So we have a lot of shit like this. I think people are just getting aware of the time we are living in an era that people can just die suddenly like this because of a war. Like we have since yesterday a war in Cambodia and Thailand that just killed some people that were not expecting that escalation. We had another war, in other countries that we can say names because and we have another, we have a war in Congo, we have a wars everywhere, so the world is suffocating a little, and I think people kind of understand that the time is content, and we live in a wealth that we never had before. I don't just talk about the money wealth, but I talk about the visual wealth. So, as you said, there's an infinite things to do in the world. We had some people that get paid, to travel in another country and to show the stuff on the camera, and it makes you dream. Like a Japan kind of push back tourists because they have an over tourism shit, because of that. So I never imagine a country that doesn't want tourism anymore because of those guys, So people are just getting those information, as you say, Rodrigo, like saying that I can earn money by doing that. And that's actually what I like to do. So they are taking steps. But for the people who are just made for the 9 to 5, there is nothing wrong with that. And we are not saying that it's wrong, it's bad, this, some people are just made for that. And that's good for them. But I think if they want to survive in the long run, to have a stabilized mentality, they just need to build something outside of the work. So you need to have something outside, like you can have a purpose on this thing, because I've seen a lot of guys that put all the eggs in one company, the company shut down, and those guys are just with no jobs at 55 years old. That's crazy. That's scary because they can do what? I've even seen a guy, he just accepted an entry level salary because he was 55 years old. Yeah, yeah. Entry level salary. What kind of shit is that?
That's insane.
That's crazy. That's insane. That's
I
really
think
insane.
it's just of the entire situation that we're in, because the number of jobs that are being required are being reduced because of AI. Because let's be honest, I mean, AI is great and all, and it's going to create jobs, but the overall economy, a lot of jobs are going to be automized. Like Skype itself, it fired its entire HR division. I mean, its customer support division because it's handled by AI now. There's a lot of things that are going to be taken over by AI. So now we have to be thinking as like what happens to the people who are laid off, or what happens to the jobs that are taken over by AI, because aren't the people who got trained and had these jobs, do they get compensated somehow by these AIs? Because these AIs don't pay tax. They're only profiting the companies that they're making, right? Not the country as a whole or anything.
Yeah. This is a very interesting topic because so like if you think about customer service, which is what you mentioned that Skype fired, like in the 1980s, their job almost didn't exist because the internet was still not a thing. There was no software and there was no, oh, this is our app, we sell it to you. And if you need help, you get your customer service support or whatever. So this is like a job that just was born from the internet and from having these apps. And so people need help with the apps. And so job was born, I don't know, in the 2000s or whatever. And now we're in 2025 and this job is kind of dying because it's being substituted by AI. So literally, the job did not have like 3 decades. And before people used to learn something and do it for the entire lives. And now we have careers that are being born and being extinct in less than a lifetime, you know. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Because it's harder and harder to tell someone, hey, learn how to do this and you're set for life. Now it's like, hey, learn how to do this and you're set for, I don't know, maybe 5 years, maybe 10, maybe three, you know?
Yeah.
I
It's
think
crazy how fast the world's moving right now.
I think this thing is really crazy, and that's why I just building what I'm building, because I think like we already have this conversation a lot of times. Back when I was in London, we were eating some kebab and we were just chatting and vibing, we were just chatting all of that, and that kind of made me scared, Rodrigo, because the people who are the students who we graduate soon, we are teaching them some not useful skills for some jobs that will disappear. This will be a huge problem, and we are already seeing it. We can't say that we don't see that. I've seen, I just follow what's happening because it's my job today, but seen a lot of students in America that are complaining, that are saying an entry level job is become crazy. For entry level, they are asking like 5 years of experience. It's crazy. Already in my time, 7, 8 years ago, it was a hell of difficult to find an entry level job, but not for the same reasons. But today, it kind of become crazy. So I think a lot of people are not realizing how the market is getting sickened. Me, I think it started back in 2021. I was in my first consulting company, and this consulting company was a huge mammoth, the big elephant, mammoth. And we were making 4 billion. 4 billion. I remember my old manager, when he hired me, we were walking through the hall and he said, oh, Jean Paul, you really made a good choice because we had COVID and this company is so strong, we will never fail. It's just, I never forgot that. I never forgot that. And in my mind, to me, it was not impossible that this company fall, and it failed. The market is shrinking. If you see the consulting market today, we have less engagements because less budget, because less finance, less market, less buyers, less opportunities in everywhere. Even some huge consulting company that just deleted thousands of jobs of consultants. And those people, where are they going? To me, it's really not so much smart, to just sit there and just keep send resume all the day. No, this is a time that people need to use all their strengths, to be competitive in the tomorrow's world. Some people want to cheer themselves up, saying, "Oh, if everyone loses his jobs, so it means we have some kind of like all income." But do you think that this universal income will come now? It won't come now. The countries are already unable, to pay the debts. They have hard time paying debts. And do you think they will just give up the system and say, okay, now money doesn't exist, the debt notion doesn't exist, so we start from zero? It will just make everything fall out because people invested money in markets like me, have houses, people made some investment and all of that. So we can't just say money is zero. We can't revoke the systems because it will be meaning that the system sits on nothing. Even we know it sits on nothing, but we can't do that. So I think the next years to come will be really harsh because I kind of listened Salman in interviews this morning, Today, he's testing a new model. I don't know if you know, guys. The name is GPT-5. And he said, GPT-5 makes me feel useless.
Holy shit.
So even himself, he's worrying that it could be replaced by what is building. But these guys are not the ones who are threatened by this because they come from giant families, they have a lot of wealth, and they will always be okay. So I'm reading a book. The name is, I don't know if I can say name, but the name is Deep Work. And that guy, to me, is a genius. He said, in the new economy, because we call it new economy, there are just three people who will survive. The first and always the same in any kind of economies is the people who have wealth, who have capital. Because those people, they will hire these people who have knowledge to use the capital to make them more richer, so it makes them survive. And the third people here are us. Because if you don't know how to use this technology from the roots, you just need to be an expert or a subject matter expert. So they need you to help them make the technology function because then they will be paid by them and then they will be rich because your works make them more rich. It's just that. So it means you will need to adapt. You will need to be an adapting shark. So we have a really huge bubble, and I don't know how it will end up, but that makes me scared. This is why I always push people to please invest. Take your personal finance important. You need to save money. You need to invest for your future. So in the market, on some properties or something, and invest in your education. Because those three things are the only thing who will save you.
So true. This new economy, I can see it coming, I can feel it coming. And I do think that things are going to shift more than we anticipate. I just have this feeling, I just think things are going to change more than we think they are. Because there are a lot of people who don't, they don't believe that there's this new economy. And I see this, I see the AI evolution, and I think that AI on the next year or maybe 2 years, it's gonna end a lot of jobs. And one thing that you mentioned, there's a bubble. We're living in a bubble. Every time there's a bubble, there's a pop. And when there's a pop, there's crisis. And this also links to what you said about the universal income, which is great. And I do support this idea. But I do believe if you think about any person you know, including yourself, do you see people changing just out of nothing? Or do you see people changing when they go through something that is hard and challenging and they have to change to adapt to this new situation? And I don't see people changing out of the blue. Usually, I see people going through hardship. People go through struggle or they suffering somehow and they change dramatically. And I've seen this in my own life. I had this 5 year long career. I was doing my thing. I had my girl. After I broke up, it kind of like started massive changes in my life. And it led me to eventually leave my career and just be like, okay, I want to do something completely different than this. And actually, like, I want to explore, find myself, and find new purpose in my life. And all of this came from hardship and struggle. So I do think that going to this transition, going through the from that we're living right now to this new economy, this new age that is going to come, I think the first thing that is going to happen is the crisis. There's going to be crisis. There's going to be a lot of people don't that are kind of desperate. They didn't prepare. They didn't see this coming. It's going to hit them like a truck. But I think after the crisis, then we're going to get you universal basic income. Then we're going to get you new solutions. Then we're going to get you like this new world where things are going to be again fixed and they're going to go back to moving forward, go back to, building more and more wealth and more good stuff for us. But I do almost, it's almost
Why do
like
you think that is? why do you think that there has to be a crisis before that? I mean, it can just happen through, political change and, just by electing more socialist leaders.
It can. It happen. It is totally possible. But it's just looking at history, looking at human motivation, I don't think it will happen. It is totally possible. It's not hard, you know. We just need to like get some powerful people that can actually, change laws and change systems and stuff. Just sit on a room and agree that this is the future. Like, have you ever seen them doing that in the past? Because I haven't. And it's usually when people actually kind of like either surrender to the public, talking about big politicians or the tech, big tech guys or whatever. I think they're gonna submit and surrender to the people when they feel threatened with some kind of crisis or whatever. And it's just something that, again, going to human motivation, I do feel like most people don't just change out of the blue. I think they tend to do whatever they're doing until they get to a point of no return. And you know, um, I'm gonna take a leap here. Please, stay with me for a moment. But my dad, for example, and many people do this. They get to a certain age and they're diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, which means, hey, you're not supposed to eat sugar anymore. I've never seen someone be diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and quit sugar. I've seen people continue to eat sugar, because they're addicted and it's what's they're being their whole. So I think that they're not going to change until they get to like a point of no return, which is like some major diagnosis or some major health crisis or whatever. And then they're like, oh my God, okay, I need to stop this. Or otherwise, like either like I'm gonna die. There's this major, very, very scary threat to them. They make this change. I think with politics, it's gonna be the same. Not a lot of people are revolting or people are not as loud right now. I think we're starting to see a movement where people like us are talking about this and more people. But I think the systems and the politics and universal basic income is only going to come after crisis. Some don't know how. And I think you mentioned some war going on. I feel that like there are more and more like small scale wars popping. I say small scale because we had like World War One, World War. It's not what's gonna happen. I don't think we're gonna have like this big war. Oh, United States and rest of the world or whatever. I don't think it's gonna be anything like that. But I do see like you just mentioned Cambodia and Thailand. I wasn't even aware of that. I don't keep up with news much, to be honest. But like, man, holy shit, another war, yet another.
Not a war.
We're seeing like a lot of small conflicts happening, and I don't know. I feel those conflicts are gonna increase for the next years or so. But I'd love to hear your guys'
But
opinions on this.
but me, I think those countries are happening. I think Thailand and Cambodia. It's because of colonial problems. The way they just traced. The countries. That is causing a huge problem now. We also have India and China who will be fighting in the decades that are coming because of the frontier, where you can see in India how more Chinese population face looking, and China wants to take it back one day or another. So this will be, and then we see Taiwan also. Taiwan want to run away, but China, motherland, don't want to let them. So this will lead to a war. So it will not finish, and it's always like that. And I think the most difficult thing and how it's going, and sorry, and Europe also has been threatened, by Russia, and now we are kind of making the military budget so much high because we think in like a 1 year, 2 years we will be going to fight Russia. So That's crazy. I'm not not for the war, but I understood that human is the most complex thing that were created in this world, and human is human is the one himself disappear. Because technology is good, but what scares me is the world is getting more and more technological, you know, and we have AI involved in this war. That's crazy. It means we will have an endless war. The first people who will pay for this shit are the first two people, no matter who you are. Because the first one, people who have wealth, who have capital, they will be the one who pay for it at the end, or who never even suffer that. You see? And I just fear for my safety. Like, we never know. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. We talk about the universal income economy. Me, I don't think this is a good thing. I think everyone should earn uh, the amount of money depending of how much effort he's doing. In France, for example, we already have, and even in world, we already have a big psychological issue warning. People are getting more psychological diseases. People are getting crazy. And imagine, because we had a lot of people that talked like that the universal income rate, we won't have an economy of service anymore. We will have an economy of advertising. So people will just enjoy their life, all of this. I can tell you, some people are not meant to live like this. Some people are really scary and dangerous. People will get really crazy. People will get crazy. Some people need to stand up, do something, go to work. It makes them regulate the inner self. Yeah, some people work like
Maybe,
this.
but maybe that's also because these people. But we're also living in a situation where we do not need like the entire workplace to be doing a job anymore. Like the total number of jobs required to keep the world running is decreasing as a whole because of
Mm.
automation and robotics and just in general, because every time you get a job that is taken over by a machine or something, you reduce the number of humans required in the workplace. So what happens when there isn't enough jobs to go around for everybody?
That's why the world is not prepared for this, Manu. Nobody knows what will happen. And even Hartman, the GPT guy, he doesn't even know what will happen. But they keep building this because they think it will be somehow beneficial for the world. But we don't know what it can create. Because you will have some people who will be extremely wealthy because they will make their credit to services. And you have some people who will be extremely poor because they can't keep up with those changes. So, not everyone have the ability to always constantly learn something new, change something new. Think about the people who didn't have a chance to benefit the education that we had, and even think about when we were at school. We even had some people in our classroom that can't pop with the class, they just hand up just quitting. I have seen maybe 10 in all my scholarity, that quit because they couldn't keep up. Do what for this kind of people? I think this is an open subject. This is a really open wound from the world that we need to find a solution to. But as we grow up already, as we know humans, and I think all of that can be solved, by talking, by making a system, that can work fine with this. But I think this won't be the case, and we will need to figure it out ourselves. This is why I just take care of my finance. I just take care of the way I'm eating. I just take care of my health. And I just make the best of what I can make because AI can't go out and meet people yet. Can't do it yet. So I just use what be using, to always be ahead of time because not everyone will want to talk with a robot on the line. We already seen some Reddit sub that flag AI texting and push people to just write naturally, man, just be natural. So we kind of have some AI blues already coming. And I think it's a really in time to live in, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
Interesting, crazy
there was a
times.
statistic. There was 2026, 90% of all conversations on social media is going to be of AI. So it's like if you go to, I mean, even now, if you go online, it's like you're almost 50-50 chance of getting something that's actually created by or by a human. And even if a human's typing it, you don't know if they've used any chatbot or something to create that. So is any more interaction anymore? You know?
But in TikTok, what is happening? There's an English account that just noticed it. Like TikTok creates some fake account, full AI, who copy the content of a human, word by word. But it's AI who make it. But myself, I saw that. I didn't know this was AI. Looks like real people. But what they're doing, it will be killing the vibe of social media. It will be killing the vibe of social media. Or maybe it will open a new kind of market where we just get used to getting interacting to robots and actually starting to treat them like just a people, you know. I kind of relate a lot to Black Mirror. I don't know if you know
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that show.
It feels too realistic now. So
People are gonna be like having YouTube videos, and the title is gonna be Black Mirror predicting this 10 years ago. You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
things are gonna be real. But I do agree, and I couldn't agree more. There's one thing you said, which is I don't want to wait for people to solve this or for politicians to have a solution. I want to prepare myself. I want to do things that I can to improve myself, to prepare myself, take care of my health, take care of my financial situation, take care of people around me, and just be, open to change, but prepared for whatever happens. You kind of like you're embracing change. Another this might sound a little bit crazy, but I don't know how much of a gamer you guys are. I love video games. And I've played MMO games, which are massive multiplayer. And I think the analogy that I'm trying to put here is like this. When you're playing MMORPGs, you have your level. So let's say I'm level 31, it's my level. And the max level is 100. So, okay, if you're 100, you're at the top. You're king, right? But when there's new expansions, they say like, oh, max level is not 100 anymore. It's now 200. And everything that you have that's level 100, it's going to massively drop in value from one day to the other. So from the moment that this update comes, everything that level 100, loses massive value. And now everything that is level 200 has new value. So, real life is not going to be there's not going to be like patch notes. But I do feel like we're walking towards a direction that looks something like that. Because like in this, I might have skills that today are valuable, but 5 years from now, they're going to be like valuable? 10 years from now, are they going to be valuable? And I think we're confident. We can confidently say that we know what is going to be valuable. People are trying
the
to predict.
scariest thing is And the scariest thing is with AI, it's not it like these changes used to be like once in a century kind of thing, right? Like
Yeah,
once in 100 years and then once in 50 years. But now it feels like AI is like creating these amazing leaps in like every year, every couple of years, every year sometimes, you know? Like 2 years ago, video generation was horrible, and now look at it. So it's like if this is what it's doing today, what's it gonna do next year? And by that point, like anything I studied using AI, but till up to today is going to be like useless again.
Exactly.
yeah. But I saw it, in the consulting. We have a lot of consulting boutique who are struggling now because they don't have product. They are hiring people and firing them. because they can't keep up, with new people. And we are seeing in a lot of business, intellectual business. And I interviewed a guy for that I'm doing also. And this guy, he worked for the GAFAM in America, and he's really smart. He worked on AI. He just worked on the first models, and his name is Loki. And this guy was fired after New Year Eve. Like he just came back to the office. They had some engagement with clients, some new project. He just sat there, and 31st January, they just said to them, close your computer, leave your computer and go out from the building, you are fired. They were shocked just after the New Year Eve and all of that. And until today, he didn't find a job. He was talking to me like, these are the people who really create this machine. And what we are noticing is, like said Rodrigo, in the future, we will, a company won't need a lot of people to operate. They are downsizing hardly. They are really downsizing. So we are starting to be in the real downsizing era. In the past, they were already downsizing, but they were rehiring because they needed some people. But now the people they are chasing are not the people who are coming back anymore. Manu said it for the call center. In France, we have the same example. We have people who call and they can talk. And when I say something difficult, I just noticed it's AI because he can't I'm saying well, whoa, if I didn't say it, I just continued the conversation like it was nothing. But it's almost perfect. And all the people that spend decades all their career in service center, because I was working in service center in the past when I was more young for summer to get some money, those people are not useful anymore. And what life that we have now, So me, I'm not waiting for the thing to change, and I try to keep up with what's happening, something meaningful. And from these few years, I've seen a lot of people are just quitting those hotspots and going back to the countryside to live a slow life. Because maybe the life of tomorrow will be just living a slow life, growing your food, and having some activity online. Just that.
Yeah, that's crazy. My uncle used to work for a Toyota company um, back in São Paulo, and the factory, I forgot the word. This factory closed business. The entire factory, everything, it's not operating anymore. And my uncle, of course, was fired because there was no need for him anymore. And I don't know what they're doing. Either, um, downsizing and using like robots to build cars or whatever. I thought about it. My uncle moved to the countryside and he got here and he can't find a job. And I thought about it. Like I worked for 5 years in the tech industry. What could my uncle do in the tech industry? And I thought for 1 minute, I thought for 2 minutes, and I thought, damn, there's nothing he can do. He just doesn't have the skills that are useful business, you know. And I just found myself thinking, he's one person that I know, but how many going through that, and how many people are gonna get to the point where it's like, oh shit, I lost my job is not useful anymore. But also, like, I can't just find another job because the skills that are useful today, I don't have any of them.
And I think a lot of people are also faced with this problem that now that like you've already put all this effort into like learning the skills of this job, if you're starting something new which probably involves AI in today's day and age, and you're trying to find a new career path, you're competing against all of these other people who are also trying to do the same thing as you,
Yeah.
but also have the baggage of the 10 years of work experience and like the life issues and everything that you have at that point. And you're basically fighting with a disability, like with a stuff behind you already, competing like young 22, 24 year olds who are pretty much trying to do the same thing.
They learn faster, they have more energy, they can go for three days without sleep or whatever with energy drinks. And you're in your 50s and you have your child to feed and you're like, fuck man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very crazy topic today. Very crazy topic. Yeah.
That's a crazy topic, and what is sad is like a lot of people I just not noticing that there is a change, that something is happening. Some people are just so
Tunnel
much like
vision.
that. So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
when you just have this kind of
Long as it
conversation
doesn't
in
affect
France, this is like horse, horse, they just have something like, so they can't see
blinders.
around. Yeah, blinders. So when I just kind of talk about this subject 3 years ago, people were thinking I was crazy 3 years ago when I was saying like I was, the most young manager inside my old company, and I was telling them that guys, if you win more clients, we need to change the way we are doing marketing. We need to change the way we are addressing clients because there is a huge problem. And the marketing guy was telling me, Jean Paul, I think this company in 10 years will disappear because how do you see like we just launch a marketing campaign and we just send like to thousand email address, just nobody replied, nobody even interested. I was like shocked. I was like, wow, really? And he was already like a 51 years old. He was in there for some years, and he said to me he can't quit because he just to finish his career there. He just have like a 10 years of 12 years to just do and just to work like that. Even he knows that they are not understanding what is happening in the market, and it's kind of frustrating, to just see like, why guys are you using the same technique that has been used decades ago to a new market that you don't understand? Why are you not changing the CEOs? Are you not changing all of this bullshit? Put some people actually understand well how the market is doing. Put some actual people who can read this market, who can feel this market, and let them lead you. Of course, we can work together, but put the people who understand well what's happening, But in case those kind of people just push you aside and say, oh, I've done it for 30 years and I know how it works, but they keep failing. But nobody's telling them they are failing because they're afraid for the job. They need to save money for the family. They need to feed the family. So nobody's talking. And everyone knows what's happening, but nobody's talking. And I've seen it in all the company almost I went there. It was the same shit every time, the same shit that are killing our competitiveness. See a company in Europe, for example, and our company in France, they can't even compete with company in America. No way. We are ridiculous. Can't compete. And what we are lacking is purpose, is what we were saying at the beginning. We don't have purpose. Our big boss don't have purpose. Employees don't have purpose. And another threat that we have is American companies are managing well this kind of AI shit. They're just embracing it better. They're just implementing it better. Me, in one of my last engagements as a consultant for another company, I was working for a hotel group. you know, I laughed. I laughed from upset. Instead of yelling, I was laughing. I was crying, laughing because what can I say more? Like this hotel is a worldwide known hotel in the world. They're everywhere. The most biggest group. And what's happening? Big boss of this hotel, they are killing the business from the inside for decades. And they wanted to implement AI. So they just called me. They said, okay, how do we want to implement that chat for us? Because we want to know everything about our documentation. We want to be able to make a quick search and so people can find information in our database and learn and, for every position in the company. Okay. And we want to work efficiently. So we want to use the data of all our hotels and make some comparison hotels and all of that. I just came up 2 weeks ago with something and just said to them, okay, we took some sample data, so you can make compilation hotel, you can do this, you can do that, you can do that, you can do that. And I was talking with the vice president. The VP, he said to me, go to fuck up. I won't buy the ship. What we will do is we will buy Microsoft AI Copilot. And they were happy. You see, Copilot is so strong. It can help me to just make automatic things. And everyone, all the employees were like that. Oh, we just help me to reframe my mail. And they just make small certification, foundation. Oh, I know how to use Copilot. Everyone put on LinkedIn. Yeah, we know how to use Copilot. We are good. We are ahead in AI. But that's ridiculous. Like you can't beat your competitors thinking that because you have Copilot, it means you are ahead. What kind of shit? Like Copilot is not mastering AI. So we have this kind of level of understanding in our society. And that will lead to more companies failing out, to more companies dying. With that country putting money there like crazy, this company doesn't exist anymore. This is a crazy, this is a monopoly. This is a crazy game. So how can someone smart for this kind of shit? How? Without getting crazy. And in this time of competition, so startups like you guys are ahead of time. And I think it's just a matter of time that all the thing we are talking now will happen. I'm 100% sure of that. It will happen. And those subjects that we are talking here will be on the channels, will be discussed on TV in few months. It's just a matter of months, but we will already be ahead. And like you, Rodrigo, sometimes it's scary sometimes to just start your own venture. It's scary sometimes you just say, okay, you can spend a full week, you don't have a client, seeing your bank account droning. It's crazy because society doesn't wait, country doesn't really cares. And sometimes it's family that eat mind because they're saying, oh, you see, your small cousin, he got a good job. So he's earning good money. So what are you doing, shit? You just need to go out from this and do like everyone, and it's those people that can just eat your mind. So it's a really a hard game that we are doing, man. It's a hard game. But I think the most important is to be united and also take care of ourselves and always have some backup plan like that we are working on also in case of, because we never know what can happen in this economy.
Quite few directions, honestly, from AI to jobs to everything, honestly.
Yeah. Jean, do you have anything that we missed or anything that is important that we did not discuss yet today?
John has his own podcast. That's how we actually met. So if you want to shout it out.
Oh, my podcast is just about, we just talk about those kind of things, but with money. Like, because I think the money as we know it now will always last. Maybe it will change its form, but I think it's important for people to try to get some wealth by
Yeah.
property access, can property something that can just help you keep going, so you can make it a rent for people and it helps you keep going, in this new economy. And I think it's also important, to invest in the market. And I've seen a lot of people that kind of try to, steal money to people, and making investing in the market a real bullshit. But actually, what I try to do is to just say to people that the knowledge is in front of you, the knowledge is in your hand. And I try to talk about this difficult thing the most simply possible and by quoting my own personal experience because it's kind of that just happened to me too. It's my own personal experience. So I started to save because I knew that I was working for someone, but this someone could just fire me anytime, or the company could have just fell out anytime. So I needed to have some backup plans. I needed to build my safety. I needed to make myself secure enough to not end up on the street. Because if you end up on the street, nobody's gonna help you. Nobody's gonna help you. So be realistic and try to be realistic in this podcast. And so that's how I met Manu also. So and now I met Rodrigo in the podcast also. So just kind of met each other in that podcast. So maybe we will be flying in Brazil, make the first investment round. He will just pay us some tickets, and we go to a mega party in Brazil,
Yeah,
and
we'll have a
drink some cervejas.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we just covered really globally the topics that are really hot, and it's a kind of a difficult subject to sometimes put in. But what I really like that it's that we just try to have a good conversation around it and a honest conversation, because it's an important topic. And I'm also worrying, like, if in the future I want to have kids, uh, in which world my kids will grow up, and what can I prepare for them to make them like not to be the future slave of the system. Like I want to make them be free. I want to make them be free men and free women, who just make the things on their own will. And that's important. And that's why we are fighting now. That's why we are making our own ventures, in build that safety, and the wealth will just reinforce our safety. This is what I'm doing to all the salary people, the salary man, salary woman. Of course, having a job is great, no problem, but you need to build outside, because your 9 to 5 is taking all your time, all your focus, and you are not seeing what's happening outside. So you need some people like us, to deliver your information, and you need to take action, based on the information and on your understanding. That's all.
Jean Paul, thank you so much, man. It's been a pleasure meeting you and getting to talk to you. I think we discussed a lot of important topics that will be more and more relevant to people's lives in the coming years. So yeah, thank you. I hope to have you maybe some other podcasts in the future. And this has been Mind on the Rocks, your podcast about mental health. Thank you.